Joaquin Niemann wins for the 5th time on the Live Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point, probably, maybe 10? So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry is our guy who sends me live stats every week.
I love that you get live stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Sadiq Bey come off the bench. Alvarado missed a lot of time. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments. So and remember, they picked out even a guy like Kevon Looney off the bench. So to me, they could be there. You know what? And it's crazy because last year I was so big on them, and now I'm off of them. But I'm going to say it. Fly Pelican. 7-1. Fly Pelican. Fly Pelican fly. 7-1. What's the...
Here's why JY is great. Because sometimes I almost, it's tough when I sell JY, because now what will happen is, right? I mean, listen, it's the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? And what's going to happen in 2 months from now, JY's going to go, now listen, me and K-Dub love these Pelicans. I'm like, when did I say that? Whoa, I don't remember that one, JY.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
So I drafted Aaron Jones in my Dynasty League, but he's like my 4th running back, to let you know that people don't really believe in him. And by the way, you play in a Dynasty League, I always play to win this year. I don't worry about next year. I want to win now. Flags fly forever. I'll worry about next year. So, but I got Aaron Jones last year, 11.38. So he's going to drop that down by almost 50%, not to get this total here. Yeah, I think he gets. I'll take the over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
A new global basketball league was discussed in that infamous photo with LeBron and Maverick Carter. FOS has the exclusive details. Plus, Smartwater co-founder Mike Rapoli joins us to tell us why he's joining the ownership group of the United Football League. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today, presented by Atlassian. From FOS Studios in New York City, I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington, and thank you guys so much for joining us each and every weekday as we're chatting the biggest stories happening in the business and culture of sports. We also have the latest on the MLB trade deadline, but first, let's dive right into the shoot-around.
Yeah, and let's start with Shannon Sharpe, Renee. He's saying he's at peace with ESPN's decision to cut ties with him. He said on his Nightcap podcast, quote, "They did what they felt they needed to do." He added that he enjoyed his time at the network as well. Now, the worldwide leader ended things with the NFL Hall of Famer and First Take panelist. This following his settlement with a woman who sued him for $50 million, claiming that he sexually assaulted her.
Yeah, for Shannon Sharpe, when he signed that multi-year 8-figure contract with ESPN back in 2024, we saw him really emerge as one of the big personalities, along with like a Pat McAfee, Stephen A. Smith. And so his time comes to an end, but he still has things like Club Shay Shay,
right,
which, you know, is a part of The Volume, which is Colin Cowherd's media podcast network. And so as he mentioned, though, beyond just being at peace with it, he also was hoping ESPN would wait to drop the news as his brother Sterling is getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend. He was like, I didn't want to steal the light of my brother in his induction, but instead the news did drop sooner. So I think for Shannon Sharpe, he's one of those personalities that is not your typical buttoned up mainstream network type of personality. He's going to be fine in his own world of Club Shay Shay and other content.
Which we know the valuation for Club Shay Shay and his podcast network is in at least $100 million reportedly out there as well. Meanwhile, even without Caitlin Clark, WNBA ratings are on a historic tear, up 21% from last year, averaging 794,000 viewers through 56 games. This across all networks. That's all according to Nielsen data. And the viewership numbers are largely driven by Fever games, which are averaging about 1.26 million viewers. That's a 7% jump from last year. But Renee, even non-Fever games are up 37% from last year.
Our own Colin Salau pointing out those incredible numbers, just showing just how much the league has continued to grow. Last season was historic for the W. It's continued in the preseason and, of course, into the regular season. And as you mentioned, it's a big boost of that 21% overall, despite a number of injuries. Caitlin Clark, one of the many faces of the league, has been one of those big players, missing about half of the Fever's games. But when you look, I know we just heard the news, Brianna Stewart is going to be out for the reigning champs, New York Liberty, as the two-time MVPs dealing with a bone bruise. So she's out indefinitely until they figure out the timeline. So when you look at the number of players, Paige Beckers has missed about 7 games. Jonquel Jones, finals MVP, missed about 9 games. Caitlin, Stewie, Angel Reese and Nafisha Collier have each missed 3. Asia Wilson's missed about 7 games. There's been or 6 games, I should say. A number of players that have missed significant time, yet the W is still in a great spot in terms of boost.
Yeah, very exciting to see that. Meanwhile, former NBA star Gilbert Arenas was arrested and charged, this in connection with a federal indictment, all alleging that he hosted illegal high-stakes poker games at his home in California and also making false statements to investigators. Now, Arenas was charged with 4 others, including someone prosecutors are claiming is a suspected organized crime figure in Israel. Now, Arenas pled not guilty in U.S. District Court and was released on $50,000 bond, but could serve over 5 years for each count in federal prison if he's found guilty here, Renee.
Yeah, we saw him as he was released on bond. Gilbert Arenas did have a video that he posted on social media as he ran down a set of stairs, and he actually was saying, looking right in the camera, "You can't hold me, baby. They can't hold me." And he's saying he's back on the streets, and he was saying essentially, even though the house was rented that he owned, he said he wasn't a part of it. And I think it's similar to actually what we talked about with Marcus Morris in yesterday's show of these former NBA players or former athletes in general getting caught in lawsuits and legal issues that they feel like they weren't a part of or didn't know all the details around. So absolutely makes sense as we continue to follow the details for any athlete or anybody that you're involved in these moments to make sure you're paying attention to what's going on around you.
And Arenas' trial is scheduled for September. Well, we now know one of the topics that was discussed in that infamous photo on social media of LeBron James, his business partner Maverick Carter, and Nikola Jokic's agent, all on that yacht in France. As Front Office Sports can exclusively report, the creation of a new international basketball league run by Carter was indeed mentioned. So let's dive into this in our main event. And let's bring in FOS Deals reporter and author of the Asset Class newsletter that you can subscribe to over on frontofficesports.com, Ben Horney. So Ben, tell us exactly what we know it was discussed on that yacht.
Yeah, thanks for having me, as usual. So a few days ago, Nikola Jokic's European agent, his name is Misko Raznatovic, I think. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. He posted a photo on Instagram, and it was him, LeBron James, and Maverick Carter. So naturally, this led to an explosion of speculation around the internet, around the world, about whether perhaps Jokic was going to join the Lakers, maybe LeBron was going to go to the Nuggets. We can report exclusively that that's not what they were talking about. They were discussing the planned International Basketball League that's being spearheaded by Maverick Carter, who is LeBron James's longtime business partner.
Ben, now is this league that Maverick Carter would be creating conflicting, overlapping, or something different from the reports that we have about the NBA FIBA potential league that they're looking to establish?
So it's a totally different league, which it's really interesting because it appears that a lot of people think there's much more appetite for additional basketball than, the NBA and EuroLeague and FIBA and everything that we have. This is different. It first was reported about, I believe it was in January, that Maverick Carter was looking to raise $5 billion for this league. We at FOS reported pretty quickly that LeBron is not involved in the Maverick Carter League, which, of course, begs the question, why was LeBron on that yacht? I would go on the yacht if I was invited, even if I wasn't involved in the business venture. So that's perhaps the answer. But it would be a different thing. The NBA is exploring its own European league as well. In fact, Adam Silver and the Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum were in Europe, I believe London, and perhaps they're traveling this week to speak to people about that league. So it's not clear when either of these leagues will launch, but it seems like there's momentum for potentially both of them happening.
Okay, so let's just say this league does come to fruition. What would it even look like? And I guess the larger question would be, if, let's just say, names like Nikola Jokic or even LeBron could be attached to this league, could they in theory do both the NBA and this new league?
So that's the biggest question. It seems like no, they would not be able to play in both leagues because the Maverick Carter League is going to be, it has been compared to LIV Golf and Formula One. It's going to be, I forget the exact amount of teams, but it's 6 teams. It's teams that would be traveling from city to city, playing in different places. And a big component of it is that the players would be expected to receive equity in the league, which is obviously an incentive for people to join. But since they really would not be able to play in the NBA as well, it remains to be seen who is going to play in this league. You would think that perhaps European players, might be a little bit easier for them. Maybe older players like LeBron, perhaps he's going to play in the league. That's random speculation on my part. But that, I think, is for the most part what we know. Although another fact that has been reported is that the Maverick Carter League has received some significant backing. We don't know how much money they have raised, but they've reportedly raised money from UBS, from the Singapore government, from Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which is a major backer of LIV Golf. So, like I said, there seems to be momentum here.
Yeah, and for this Maverick Carter League of about 6 men's and 6 women's teams expected to travel, as you mentioned, NBA players potentially having some equity in this league, although there is a stipulation that currently NBA players cannot have any investment in a team. I know Jaylen Brown mentioned that he's one that wants to see that rule change. In this final 30 seconds, do you think this could be the first step towards potentially CBA discussions when it does expire after the 2029 season?
I mean, that's a great question, and the NBA union certainly seems to be strong. I wouldn't be surprised if that came up. As we cover all the time, athletes investing in sports is a huge thing now. It's a big trend. Sports is big business. So no, I would not be shocked to see that be a major sticking point when those negotiations come up.
Ben Horney, author of the Asset Class newsletter and FOS Deals reporter, thank you so much. And still ahead, everyone, a big announcement for the United Football League as a new member is joining the ownership ranks. We're going to talk to Smart and Vitamin Water co-founder Mike Rapoli about why he's joining the league. That's coming up next.
I have to think long and hard about whether or not you're a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of Famer. I don't need to argue stats. I don't need to argue whether or not you are great. If Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, we don't need to have a baseball Hall of Fame. Like, just pack it up and shut it down, because that guy was as good of a hitter as we've ever seen. And he was unbelievable from the first time he stepped onto the field for the Mariners until the end.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He'll be your reserve, your extra guy here. Listen, we all need that. I say this all the time about outfielders. Most leagues, I don't know about your league, but we start 5 outfielders. Even if you're in a 10-team league, that's 50 outfielders. Plus you got some guys at utility. Plus you got some guys on reserve. 70 outfielders are gone. All right, so outfielders are extremely valuable here. And Moniak, if he's available, is a nice guy to pick up right now.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I feel they're all completely justified. The numbers, they're nearly identical. And speaking of identical, I don't know if you saw that one, Craig. That was pretty wild. From winning their first major to winning their 4th major, both Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler completed that task in exactly 1,197 days. Both of them, in the exact amount of days, won their 4th major.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado, and big news in the UFL as entrepreneur and Vitamin and Smart Water co-founder Mike Rapoli joining the league's ownership group. He's going to be joining Fox, ESPN, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and a whole bunch of other people in that ownership group for the league. So to tell us a little bit more about how this all came to be, let's bring in Mike Rapoli himself. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on this news. So how did this come to be? What made you want to get involved with the UFL?
Well, thanks, Baker. Thanks, Renee. Nice being on your show today. Listen, I've loved football my whole life. And I've loved sports from the days of St. John's University and managing and majoring in sports management. I guess this is what I get for having a 2.2 grade point average in St. John's. But you know what? I'm excited, to build the league, the powerhouse team that's there right now, between Redbird Capital and Fox Sports and ESPN, Danny Garcia, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I mean, I'm just honored to be on that team right now. And, they both started with the USFL and the XFL, and they merged about 2 years ago. And, I think today is really the first day of the United Football League. And it probably took a couple of years for them to get comfortable and have the right conferences and leagues. And, I think they learned a lot. And I think that hopefully my team, Impact Capital, and I, being on the business side and helping out the sales and marketing can add tremendous value. We're very excited about the opportunity.
Now, looking at your business accolades and accomplishments, Mike, from Vitamin Water, Body Armor, Noble, your horse racing as well with Rapoli Stables, even your work with St. John's, you've been a visionary involved in really changing the status quo. So in joining the ownership group for the UFL, I'm curious, what are your hopes and goals in terms of the next phase of growth for the league?
I mean, Renee, when you shout out the brands and the teams that you just named, this one might be the easiest thing I've ever done. I mean, look at the partners in the league. Football right now is in a league of its own. I mean, football is king. Football is the number one sport. College football is the number 2 sport. When you look at the top 100 sports programs every year, the NFL and college football probably have 85 or 90 of the top 100. So people in this country love football. And I think if you can bring them a great product in the right city and the right venue, I think it's going to be really, really big. We're not looking to compete with the NFL. In fact, we're complimenting the NFL and we're riding off their momentum. And the one thing I think people really love about football, everybody has such a crazy, hectic lifestyle. I don't know if you're a baseball fan. I don't know how you watch 162 games. How do you watch 82 NBA games? NFL has 17 regular season games, college football 12. And the UFL's, 10. So you can follow your team on a weekly basis, and football is just great right now.
Well, look, you mentioned the UFL as a challenger league. It has definitely had its struggles as sort of one of those challenger leagues. When you're competing against the NFL, obviously it's incredibly difficult. But do you view this almost as a rescue mission, or what you're trying to do to sort of help the UFL sort of get up onto the next level here?
Yeah, Baker, I think that there's a couple things right now. In past attempts with spring football, you haven't had, Fox and ESPN, Danny Garcia, Dwayne Johnson, Redbird Capital, and now Mike Rapoli and Impact Capital. We have the finances, we have the capital, we have the marketing, we have the sales, we have the sports, investment experience that Redbird Capital has. Look at what Danny Garcia and The Rock have done. To me, this is the team that can do this. And I really think that we are a small piece of that puzzle. But with my team working with the UFL senior business team, I think, running the sales and marketing, the viewership, the venues, the cities we're going to choose, ticketing, pricing, sponsorships, merchandise. We want to bring fun to football in the spring, and we're excited about this. And I really believe, this is going to be really, really big, and I'm excited about today's announcement.
And Mike, I'm curious to know how this came to be in terms of the relationships, the process, the timeline. More importantly, even why now versus maybe sooner getting involved at the UFL or waiting. What was that process like for you to become a part of the ownership group?
A couple of years ago, we started to talk about it when they were just about to merge, and I was just, it was just when I purchased Noble. It was just when I was, getting out of, we just sold Body Armor to Coke for $8 billion, and the timing wasn't right for me. And then last year, I started to speak a little bit more closely with them, and it was their second year. This is the second year of the merger. And then this year I had my team and I really look at it closely and listen, the quality of the football, what Russ Brandon and Darryl Johnston has done with the football. I mean, it is pro football. I mean, for people who know football, I mean, you got super talent. I mean, 50 players that have played in this league over the last 3 years are now in the NFL. Russ told me this morning 100 UFL players from this year are signed to contracts that are going to take them through preseason. I hope 50, I hope 100 make the league. So I think now the timing is right for this to succeed. The other thing I would say, Renee and Baker, is the venues in previous years. I think my goal and now my team's goal is to look at the venues a lot more closely. How many sports can survive in a stadium that fits 50 to 100,000? It's pro football and it's college football. The NBA, 16, 17,000. The NHL, Major League Baseball, even the stadiums they're building in Major League Baseball are 30, 34,000. They're not 55 anymore. Right. And you look at some baseball stadiums and you see 10,000 fans or 5,000 fans. That's not a good look for them either, right? So I think that, partnering up with some of these MLS teams is going to be very, very exciting. And, when we have 12,000 fans in a 60,000 stadium, it looks like a COVID game. When you have 12,000 fans in a 15,000 stadium, you're basically sold out. And I think that we're going to pay very close attention over the next 24 months about right venue, right city, right market, right community.
Well, we know how good you are at building brands, so it's going to be great to see what you do here with the UFL. Mike Rapoli, thank you so much for joining us. All right, we got a lot more front office sports today headed your way right after this quick break.
Then there's Kalia Copper, a.k.a. the Walking Bucket. I actually think I gave her the nickname the Walking Bucket. I don't know if anybody gave it to her before that, but I know I did. And she's done it in the playoffs with the Chicago Sky winning the WNBA title. It's about matchups. They have played the Liberty 3 times. They've beat them 2 out of 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Want to hear a crazy stat, guys, with this Pittsburgh Pirate team? I brought this up yesterday. Out of 106 games, they have been involved in 27 shutouts, 13-4, 14 against. Over 1 out of every 4 Pittsburgh Pirate games ends in a shutout. How crazy is that?
Total is 8 tonight. In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
One big problem for NBC, too many on-air cooks for the coverage, particularly on the weekends. Having 4 on-air teams separate time, divide the time, was really outrageous. You had Mike Tirico and his partner. You had Dan Hicks, NBC Sports' lead golf commentator, and his partner. You had Steve Sams from Golf Channel and his partner. And you had Terry Gann, who, by the way, if you don't know, is going to become an NBA play-by-play voice.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Talk to any player. Hey, used to get 18 sacks, got 7 last year. Maybe it's a defensive scheme. I don't like it at the end of the season. Oh, he's got to earn his trust back. No, he doesn't. Just show up at camp the next year and start to dominate once again, and everybody will forget. You're telling me in game number 1, the Miami Dolphins going deep, Tyreek Hill, 6 catches, 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oh, man, we're still working the process. No, you're not. The minute you get back on the field, dap it up, get after it, and have a good season.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today, presented by Atlassian. Atlassian Williams Racing brings 2 teamwork powerhouses together around a single goal, unleashing the full potential of a legendary F1 race team. From the pit lane to the podium, Atlassian software transforms teamwork and makes possible together what would be impossible alone. Well, with Thursday's MLB trade deadline, it's the last chance for teams to set themselves up for a final playoff push. Plus, the MLB Speedway Classic this weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway could break an attendance record. So let's bring in FOS reporter Eric Fisher, who will be attending the first ever MLB game played in Tennessee this weekend. Eric, we're going to get to the Speedway Classic here in just a moment, but let's talk about the trade deadline. What has been the biggest move so far in your book?
Well, I would say putting a number of these big deals so far together, Suarez to the Mariners, Mason Miller to the Padres, and so forth, a number of these other ones. What strikes me is that the field is wide open. We talked a lot this season about the dominance competitively and economically of the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees over everybody else. Those are the three biggest spending teams. They were expected to dominate all season, and they all got off to good starts, but they've been scuffling lately. And what I'm seeing is that the rest of the league, and particularly a number of these other top contenders, Blue Jays and so forth, they're seeing a big opening and are making moves. And so the rise of baseball's middle class is really what's sort of pulling out for me, because, again, it's a wide open race this year.
It is, and we've seen so many teams prioritizing high-leverage relievers. It's become almost like a bullpen mania as some teams are trying to bolster their roster for a playoff push, whereas others are maybe in a rebuild mode towards developing their farm system, bringing in prospects. What makes Major League Baseball's trade deadline the best of across sports? It has everybody glued to their screens following. What makes Major League Baseball trade deadline so captivating, Eric?
Yeah, because, again, it happens, we're almost 2/3 of the way through the season here, and people are really teams are really positioning themselves for October. I think the NBA and their trade deadline may have an argument in terms of what you're saying, in terms of what's the best out there. This is pretty great, though. And again, you see a lot of teams are really positioning themselves for that big final October push. And your comment about the relievers is particularly interesting because you think about the nature of October baseball and the importance of getting that one guy or those couple of guys out in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings of those pivotal games, and having a strong arm to be able to do that. That's really important, and it's almost like you can't have enough good pitching. And so this is what you see a lot of teams moving in that direction and arming as such.
Eric, in the last 60 seconds we got with you, you're going to Tennessee this weekend for the Motor Speedway Classic. We're thinking over 80,000 people are going to be there this weekend. How important is it for events like this for Major League Baseball?
Huge. And this one in particular really is about building new fans. They've done a number of other special event games. I've been to many of them, including the Field of Dreams. They're great, but it's baseball and other baseball settings. This is going to be a real blending of baseball and auto racing. And what I'm gathering is already more than half of the ticket buyers to this event were not already in the Bristol Motor Speedway database. And so this is both racing and baseball appealing to the other sport and essentially fishing in new ponds.
And another example that even with 162 regular season games for teams, Major League Baseball continues to have these tentpole events that draws fans, including new fans, Eric, as you're mentioning.
Yeah, this is a great event during sort of what might be a slower time of the year. Now that the All-Star game is done and we're getting through the trade deadline, and there's a little bit of a lull before we get to that final regular season push for playoff position, this really fits in a nice spot in the calendar.
Absolutely. FOS reporter Eric Fisher. Enjoy the weekend over in Tennessee at the game, Eric. Thank you so much. All right, let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Well, Renee, talk about making a big splash this offseason. Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey posted a video on social media along with a few of his teammates asking Ravens superfan and the most decorated Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps, for his swimming help, saying one of the players doesn't even know how to swim. Well, Phelps said yes to this. He responded to the post saying, "I got y'all." So, Renee, if the Ravens end up winning the Super Bowl, maybe it could be because of Michael Phelps.
Well, I think Michael Phelps, the 23-time Olympic gold medalist, is a great teacher. He taught Snoop Dogg how to swim ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympics, and now he's teaching the Ravens. He is a Baltimore native himself. And I also enjoyed the fact that the Ravens are coming off of recent renovations for the castle, their multi-million-dollar renovation, including adding this pool, but did not teach their players how to swim. So don't worry, Michael Phelps is swooping in to save the day. And also he's got his own foundation. So this is on brand with what Michael Phelps looks to do. And teaching others how to swim.
Plus, it might be great for their conditioning and all this stuff. Maybe the secret ingredient is just being in the pool.
Yes, winners teaching winners. Who knows?
By the way, guys, football season officially starts tonight as the NFL Hall of Fame preseason game between the Chargers and Lions in Canton, Ohio kicks off tonight. We're going to chat all of that on Friday's edition of the show. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.